I've been meaning to try some multi-axis turning, which is where you turn part of an object, then remount it on the lathe with a different axis of rotation and turn a different part, or turn the same part in a different way. Multi-axis turning is really an art form in itself. It kind of breaks the door wide open from traditional solids of revolution to far more interesting, complicated freeform shapes. And it's really a test of your imagination because the geometry associated with this type of turning is actually kind of complex. This is a blank of walnut and paduak, which I think is a really striking combination of colors. Really nice looking even in this rough form. I mounted this between centers, but I offset it a bit on each end so the paduak stripe would look a little off kilter. If you've seen a few of my other projects, you know this is a theme I've kind of been exploring. You get such elegant curves when you intersect something round with something straight, but at an angle. And I think it's a really neat effect. Here I'm using a rough and gouge to true this up, and increasing the speed intermittently to keep the vibration down. Once the blank was round, I marked out some of the key inflection points. This design requires one end of the piece to be a sphere, and since my last sphere didn't go so well, I'm really taking my time to measure this out and get it exactly right. I used a parting tool to set the thickness of what will be the spoon's handle, and then I got started bringing the shape down to what I want. I'm still learning to use a spindle gouge, and this is a tricky spot right here where the sphere meets the handle. I wasn't being careful, and the left side of the gouge, which is unsupported by the tool rest, contacted the sphere and gave me a nasty catch. Luckily, I wasn't to the final depth yet. I switched to the round carbide cutter, which is a tool I feel much more comfortable with, because I was nervous about ruining the piece. I'll keep practicing with the spindle gouge on scrap wood. I put a tenon on the handle side of the piece. Then I mounted it in a chuck to finish the sphere. I made this little template just by tracing around the outside of a drinking glass and cut out the curve on a bandsaw. This process was just shaping and checking back and forth until it was right. Once I was happy with the shape, I went ahead and sanded the whole thing up to 220. Off the lathe now, I'm cutting the blank in half on the bandsaw. I tried to make a little sled for this, but honestly, I was able to cut it better just freehand. Don't do this if you're not comfortable with it though, since it's not well supported during the cut. My poor bandsaw is just not loving these thick hardwood pieces, even with a new blade. I also have wooden guide blocks on the lower guide, and they smoke, which I'm sure is a sign that something's not set up right. I need to spend some time and give this saw some TLC. I made this spoon chuck out of some scrap oak. I also considered making some custom jaws for my scroll chuck that would hold the spoon, but I chose this type of design because of its simplicity. I didn't film any of its construction, but it's essentially just a bowl that is sized to exactly fit the spoon, with a small lip on the inside edge to kind of snap the spoon in, and a notch cut out for the handle. Then I cinch it down with a hose clamp. Now this is a bit scary with the handle flying around and barely visible. I just have to be very cognizant of this area and remember not to put any of my body parts in there. I hollowed out the spoon with a round carbide cutter, stopping frequently to check the wall thickness of the spoon. The last thing was just to sand it. I started on the disc sander and then did quite a bit of hand sanding because of all the curved bits. To be honest, I think that maybe the spoons are a bit clunky looking, not quite as elegant as I imagined in my head. But for a first try, I'm just thrilled that they aren't ending up in the fireplace. By the way, this project is part of a collaboration with some of the other woodworkers on YouTube to publish a kitchen utensil project video today. So there are quite a few others who participated, and I put the links to all of them in the description of this video. I encourage you to check out a few more and get inspired to make something for your kitchen. Let me know what you think of these spoons, and thank you for watching.